Hello and welcome back to the latest episode of An American in Thailand, airing every Friday. This program is broadcast to you from Ratchamakan University of Technology, Peranakan. And this program will come to you in two parts. For the first part, I will introduce a certain topic about being an American living here in Thailand. Could be about food, travel, culture, a lifestyle, anything like that. We'll then take a break, and in the second part of the program, we'll get into some more examples and specifics about the topic. Okay, let's get to the program. Welcome, everyone. My name is Gary Gray, and I am your host for An American in Thailand. So today's topic, we're going to be doing something that's about lifestyle, just basically how we live our lives. We're going to do a specific topic, which might seem a little weird. Might seem like a little bit of a weird topic. Really, we're going to do a whole show about this topic. But first, introduce myself a little bit. For those of you not familiar with this program, I am an American English teacher here at Ratchamakan University of Technology, Peranakan. When I say American, I mean from the United States. I often explain that that term is not meant to be offensive. Some people from other parts of North and South America get offended by when people from the U.S. call themselves Americans. That's the only term we have. Sorry, that's what we are, Americans. We don't have any other term. We don't mean to imply that people, for example, from Canada are not Americans. Of course, they are from North America. They are also part of the Americas. They are American as well. But they don't use that as their nationality. Their nationality is Canadian. American is the word we use. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that because it is part of our name. We aren't just from North America. The USA stands for the United States of America. So America is in our nation's name. And so that's why we call ourselves Americans. So don't anyone get offended when when someone from the U.S. calls themselves an American. That's what we're called, sorry. So, I am from the United States, yes. And I've lived here in Thailand for 8.5 years, the entire time teaching here at the university. So I think I've been here long enough that I can kind of judge some of the differences between the U.S. and Thailand. And so for today's topic, I said it's going to be something about lifestyle, just how we live our day-to-day lives. Yeah, it's going to be something very normal that most of us do every day, maybe not every day, at least once or twice a week probably. Maybe every day, who knows? And that is banking. I know, that's a weird topic, right? We're going to talk about banking? How can that be so different? It's a bank. You put money in it, you take money out of it. How can it be that much different? You would be surprised. Banking in Thailand is so much different than it is in America. Especially just the routine banking that you do. Like buying things, paying bills, bank transfers, ATMs, all that sort of stuff. And what might surprise you is that Thailand is actually more convenient and more modern and more advanced when it comes to this. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the second half of the program. I want to kind of talk about, is there anything that makes the U.S. banking better? And I also want to talk about why the U.S. is kind of behind Thailand when it comes to banking. So let me first explain what some of those differences are and why Thailand, what is it about the difference that makes Thailand more advanced or better? Okay, so first of all, here in Thailand, there are more bank options. There are more banks. Now, I should say that in America, there are definitely more banks. But we have a lot of small local banks. But as far as the large banks, we don't have as many because they keep buying each other. So they go away. For example, I used to live in an area of the country in the U.S. where there was a pretty big, it was more of a regional bank. It wasn't national, but it was still fairly big. There was a pretty big bank called Wachovia. They got bought out. They're gone. So now that bank is gone. So in America, there's really only, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 large banks. And now just think of Thailand, where you have, well, I know there's even more than double that, but as far as like the big ones, there's probably about double that. Some of them are a little smaller, like GSB. I think that's the one that's got the pink sign, I think. That one's fairly small. You can find it, but it's relatively small compared to the other ones. But it's still a fairly major bank here in Thailand. That's still a big bank. Just maybe small compared to Casacorn or something like that, or Krung Thai, or small compared to those. But it's still a pretty big bank. So if you just look at the big banks, we have a lot more selection here in Thailand. There's a lot more of them. And perhaps for that reason, not really sure if it's because of that, honestly, because there's also another reason I can think of, but that's part of the reason. Because there are more banks, there are more ATMs, which obviously is going to be more convenience. It's more convenient. It's easier to find an ATM. I will tell you, it's not always that easy. Here where I'm recording at our university, we used to have a Bangkok bank right on the university. And so and Bangkok Bank is who I do my banking with usually. And there was a Bangkok Bank ATM there. It's gone. They also had an ATM right out front, which I don't know why. They had the two right there next to each other. They took that out as well because they put in like a new bus stop or something. They got rid of that. That's gone. So now there's no Bangkok Bank anywhere within like a kilometer of here. And my bank card's not working and blah, 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 blah. And so I have to do cardless ATM withdrawals. And with Bangkok Bank, with cardless ATM withdrawals, they only have a mutual agreement with Casacorn, so I have to use either Bangkok Bank or Casacorn. And there's no Casacorn ATM around here either. So it can be frustrating sometimes. Sometimes it's not convenient. But if your bank card works, because of course you can use the card in any machine, I just really need to just go get a new card. That's my solution. Because there are probably a dozen ATMs within a half a kilometer of where I'm sitting right now. There's just a lot more ATMs here than there are in America. If you're in America, you may have to walk blocks to get to an ATM, even in a city. Even if you're in a city, there may not be one anywhere near you. And one of the reasons for that isn't just because it's not just magic that there are more ATMs here, but because there are more banks. Each bank wants to have their own ATMs, so there's more banks to choose from. But there's also more bank offices, like the place you actually go to, which we call a branch. There are more branches here for banks than there are in the U.S., for most of them. I would say that for Chase, there's quite a few banks in America. Branches, the actual branches. But it also depends where you live. They actually have none in the area where I grew up and where my family still lives. There's still none. There's none. Zero. And they're a national bank, and they're one of the biggest in the whole country. They have none in an entire region of the U.S., a very populated region of the U.S. It's very strange. I don't know why they don't have any banks there. They don't. Believe me, I know. It was really inconvenient every time I'd have to go back to where my family was, because that's who I did my banking with when I was in the U.S. So there are more branches of banks here as well in Thailand. And usually at the branch, they'll have an ATM. So that's another reason why there are more ATMs. So it's just much more convenient to find an ATM here. Also, direct bank-to-bank transfers. Those are very difficult to do in America. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in the second part of the program. But basically, what you do here in Thailand, you open up your banking app, you want to transfer money to your friend, you just press whatever bank you're sending it to, you put in their account number, boom, it's off. Or you can use Prompt Pay, which we also don't have in America. We don't have anything like that. It's very difficult to do bank-to-bank transfers in America. I will explain why in the second half. QR payments. Now, I admit I've been here in Thailand so long that maybe it's become more common in America. Using QR code to make payments, maybe. But I still go back to America occasionally. Haven't been back for a while, but I do still go back. And I can tell you that you don't see it very often. Making payments via QR code, and I think probably because there's not that interconnection between all the banks. Just like I said, you can't do direct bank-to-bank transfers very easily in America. And I think that's what makes it difficult to have that whole QR system set up, because it needs to be able to access pretty much any bank to be able to do that if you're going to pay by QR code. I'm not going to tell you it doesn't exist in the U.S. If I recall from the last time I was there, I think there are some places that do it. I think. And I haven't been back for about a year and a half, so they may have expanded that. They may do that more now. I don't know. And then you also have paying bills, which is kind of the same thing. Doing that online. There are ways you absolutely can set that up, and that's been around for like 10 years. You can do that. It absolutely can be done. It's not as simple as it is here. It's much more of a process. Now, I will tell you that sometimes, even here, it can be a process. Like to set up an automatic payment for my electric bill for my condo in Nong Khai was very tricky to do. I had to actually go to the bank and get that all set up. It was tricky. But generally, paying bills online is really easy here. So obviously, it's much more convenient here in Thailand. So in the second part, we'll talk about if there's anything bad about that. Like sometimes something is convenient because you've made it too easy, which can create some problems. So is there anything bad about the convenience that we have here in Thailand with that? I'm also going to talk about why there's this difference. All right, so we're going to talk about that in the second half of our program. Let's go ahead and take a quick break now. Welcome back, everyone. All right, so we're talking about banking today, and we're talking about the differences between the United States and Thailand with their banking systems. I was shocked at how different they were. It was one of the things that shocked me the most here in Thailand. I never realized it from when I visited here. I visited here many times before I moved here, because all I did when I visited here was, go to an ATM, get some baht, and pay for stuff in cash, or at my hotel, pay for it in credit card, and that's it. Okay. And my bank was back in America. My credit card was based in America. So I was still doing American banking, even when I was visiting here. When I moved here and started doing Thai banking, I was shocked at the differences. So in the first part of the program, we talked about how much more convenient banking is here in Thailand. And so that may have surprised you, how much easier, more convenient it is here. I mean, most people would think a big, advanced, rich country like the U.S. would have all of these easy conveniences. They'd be easy. In fact, they should have even more. So is there any advantage to that? To all of these restrictions they have in the U.S. banking system? Well, we'll talk about why they do it in a minute, but it seems like there's got to be a reason, right? So is there any reason? I mean, is there any advantage? Honestly, not really much that I can think of, no. I suppose maybe the way the accounts are so much more isolated, like it's hard to do transfers and things like that. You need all kinds of authorization, and I guess maybe it keeps your bank account safer. I don't know. I've never had a problem here in Thailand with my bank account being accessed by someone that it's not supposed to or whatever. But maybe. And because it's a little harder to do like certain types of payments, maybe it can cut down on impulse purchases. But even that, I mean, as inconvenient as banking is in America, it's still pretty easy to just buy something online. I mean, we do still have debit cards that can be used like as a Visa or as a credit card. You know how we have those here in Thailand as well. My Bangkok bank card is not like that, but I have another bank that I don't usually do much banking with, but that card is like that. So, yep, I can use it like a credit card, but it's just a debit card. It just takes from my bank account. We have the same thing like that in America, so you can still go online and order stuff and pay for it right away. So I don't know that it really would cut down on impulse purchases. It's really things like payments for bills that can be a little trickier in America. Again, we can do that. You can definitely do that. Anyone from the U.S. watching this, I don't want them to say, "Oh, this guy's crazy," saying you can't pay bills online or whatever. Of course you can. Yes, you can. But if an American saw how simple it was to do it here, they would be surprised. I was surprised. It's much easier here. It's not even that difficult to do in America. Once you get it all set up and everything, it's not that hard. I don't mean to make it sound like it's so difficult to do that. Some of these things are kind of a big deal, like bank-to-bank transfers, but some of these aren't that big of a deal, like paying bills in America online or through your bank. Yes, you can do that. It's not that hard. I used to do it when I lived there. It's simply harder, less convenient than it is here. So again, I don't really see any advantages to how it works in the U.S. These inconveniences are not done like to protect your account or anything like that. The only advantage I would say that the U.S. banking system has, and it has nothing to do with these conveniences, but it is still a good thing, is that there is an insurance program. It's called FDIC. I think it's the Federal Depository or Deposit Insurance. I don't think it's a private company. I don't think C stands for company. I'm not sure what exactly it stands for, because I think it's part of the government. But at any rate, it's an insurance program which protects your money. So, for example, if a bank fails, you're sure to get your money back. We're going to talk about something in the next part when I explain to you why the U.S. is less convenient. And I'm going to mention something about like the fact that the banks don't actually have your money. It's not like they have stacks of cash there. I mean, they do have a lot of cash there at a bank. They need to in case people come to withdraw money, but they don't have all of your money there. And so if there's a problem with the bank and everyone rushes in to try to get their money, the bank's going to run out of money before everyone has their money. And so you might be worried, oh no, I'm going to lose my money. The bank doesn't have my money. No. If the bank fails, there is an insurance program to get your money back, so you can get your money back up to a certain amount, but it's a pretty high amount for most people. I guess if you're wealthy, it's not a very high amount, so you better spread your money around to a lot of different banks and keep a lot of cash stashed at home if you're really wealthy. But for most people, the insurance program covers everything they would have in their bank. So that is the one good thing about banking in America, is that your money is safe. Okay, but otherwise, Thai banking is so much more convenient. And why is that? Honestly, it's a little hard for me to know for sure. Because clearly the technology is there. I mean, the United States is somewhat more advanced than Thailand is. I mean, Thailand is not as slow in its development as some countries in this part of the world are. Cambodia is behind us, Laos is behind us, Myanmar is behind us here in Thailand. But Thailand still isn't quite as advanced as the U.S. So clearly, they have everything they need in the U.S. to do this properly. My guess, and unfortunately this is not very complimentary towards my own country of the United States, but I think this is the reason. I think the reason has a lot to do with money, money, money. So, for example, banks want to force you to do your business with them. I'll give you an example of that. With bank transfers. When I was with Chase Bank in America, it was really easy to transfer money to another person within the same bank. I had a friend with whom I had to do that occasionally. He also had a Chase account. That was easy. Boom, here's some money. He sent me back money, whatever. So that was easy. Yep. But it was much more difficult to try to transfer money to someone who uses a different bank. And so let's say it's a family member or a really close friend with whom you have to transfer money back and forth often. Well, you're going to want to be in the same bank. So this is kind of encouraging people to join your bank. And if you're a big bank, you're probably going to, the bigger of the two banks is probably going to be the one where people go to. So if you're a big bank, you're going to be the one winning over those customers. So you don't want to make it easy to transfer money to another bank. No. You want the customer with the other bank to move their money to you. Okay? And they will also charge you money to transfer money from one bank to another, which that does not happen here in Thailand. I don't know. Maybe if you transfer a large amount it does, or transfer frequently. I don't know. I've never been charged for a transfer the whole time I've lived here. So they will also charge you money. So it's all about making money. So we don't have the convenient transfer network like we have here. Here, you just open up your bank app. Like I said before, in the first half of the program, you press in the bank that you're sending to, you put in the person's account number, you put in the amount, boom, done, gone. And it shows up immediately in their account. It's also not immediate in the U.S. It takes time to do that transfer. They may not see the money till the next day, 2 days, whatever. So if you have a family member that needs that money in 5 minutes, sorry, you better be in the same bank. And so, yeah, it's about making money. That's why they're going to charge you. Now, you may say, well, but do they make money just because you have your account there? Don't they make money through other things, mortgages and whatever? No. They make money from the money you have sitting there. This is what I was talking about before when I said they don't just have piles of cash sitting there. No, when you deposit money, it doesn't just stay there in the bank like a big stack of cash that you just put in there. No. The bank invests your money. That's why they're able to pay you a very small amount in interest, because they're going to take your money. They're going to invest it somewhere. Like, let's say you give them, let's do it in dollars because we're talking about the U.S. You deposit $10,000. They're going to invest it somewhere. They're going to make $1,000. And so they're going to give you $100 in interest. And by the way, the difference is probably even more than that. Interest rates are so low, you'll probably be lucky to get $20 in interest off of $10,000. And they'll probably make more than 10%, so they'll probably make more than $1,000. So they're making money off of your money. That's one of the main ways the banks make money. I used to actually work in the industry. I know this for a fact. And in fact, it's kind of dangerous in case they lose money. They actually have to put some restrictions on that, but they do it. They do it. It is called prop trading, where they're basically using other people's money. That's not really the bank's money. So they do that. They do that. They make money off of your deposits. Also, making it so much more difficult to transfer money out, making it so difficult to pay your bills and whatever, they want you to use your credit card. Another way they make money. They don't want to make it convenient for you. No. They want you to use your credit card because your credit card is probably with your same bank. It may not be. A lot of Americans have more than one credit card, so some of your credit cards may not be. But most Americans do have a credit card with the bank that they have. Most of us do. I did. I don't have any anymore. I've been living here long enough. I have no U.S. bank accounts or credit cards. But yeah, most of us have a credit card with our bank, and so they want you to use the credit card so they can make more money off of the interest payments. So everything is about making money. Even the ATMs, the ATM fees in America are also much more expensive than they are here in Thailand. For example, if you go to an ATM, well, it's usually free here. If you're going to your own bank's ATM, there are some banks in America that are like that, but even going to your own bank in America, most of them are not like that. They may give you like 5 free ones, withdrawals, and then after that they'll charge you. Now here they give you like 5 free ones. I think it's 5, maybe it's 3, I don't know, and it probably depends on your bank. But with my bank, I get like 5 free ones. But that's 5 free ones at banks that are not my bank, the ATM that's not from my bank. No. You go to an ATM that's not your bank in America, and they will charge you a fee. Now, what is the fee here? I think the fee here, if I recall correctly, is usually, although I usually do try to go to my bank, and as I said, my card doesn't even work right now, so I have no choice because I have to do cardless withdrawal at my own bank's ATMs. I believe but if I recall correctly, I believe the fee here is about 20 baht. If you do the transfer of that for US dollars, that's less than $1 in the US. In the US, they charge about, and I think this has been going up and up and up, and I haven't done it in so long that I don't know for sure what it is, but I think it's roughly around $5 US. I think. It could still be a little bit lower than that. It was a little lower than that when I last was there and using it, but it was still about $3 US. And here in Thailand, it's about, if you do the conversion, that would be about 70 cents. It's about 70 cents. So it's more than 4 times more expensive, at least. That's using the low number, the $3. It's 4 times more expensive to use an ATM in America. Now, people do make more money in America, so cost of living is higher in America. So yes, the fees are going to be higher. That does make some sense. So that's not totally wrong. But 4 times, and again, I'm using the lowest estimate I can there. It could be 5, 6, 7, 8 times. 4 times as much? Yeah, the fees are extremely expensive. So I'm sorry to say it because I don't think it reflects very well on my own country. But I think that the reason banking is so much less convenient in America is just because the banks are greedy. If they made it this convenient, they'd make a lot less money. ATMs cheaper. Bank transfers free. No need to use credit cards as often because it's easier to pay for stuff like it is here. I mean, they'd lose money on all of those things. It's just, yeah. That's why it's so much less convenient in America. They don't want to make it convenient. If they made it convenient, they'd lose money. So that's the story. That's the difference. And so I know it seems crazy that banking in America is less convenient than here in Thailand. Big, advanced, rich country like America, you'd think much easier. No. Banking here in Thailand is so much more convenient. And that's something I think many of you may not be aware of. So that's our topic for today. All right. Thank you for joining us for today's episode of An American in Thailand. Let me reach out to any young people out there who may be going to university in the next year or two. Consider our university here, Ratchamakan, University of Technology, Peranakan. All right, please stay with us and also tune back in next week for another interesting episode. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.